In this video, I'll be creating the people in the city. These are non-interactable filler NPCs that help make the city feel more alive. Since I've only drawn one character that looks different from my player character, all NPCs currently look the same, but that's not intentional. The main challenge here is placing these NPCs in reasonable locations at reasonable times. For example, I don't want an NPC to always stay at the office or always hang out at the community center. Just like the main NPCs, they should have daily schedules and remain consistent between scene switches if the player decides to follow them around. My initial idea for a design was to mimic how I currently set up the main NPCs. Create an object for each one in each scene, write a schedule for their daily routine, and attach an NPC script that checks every half second whether and where they should appear in the scene. However, unlike the main NPCs, there will be many more of these filler NPCs, at least 30 to 50 to populate the city, so I don't want to manually write a schedule for each one. After thinking about it for a while, I came up with a possible solution. In real life, most people have places they usually go. For example, the office if they work, or the library if they're studying. Since all these buildings are already set up in my game, I can design filler NPCs to either work at these places or be customers there. For example, someone who goes to Alpha Corp might leave their home at 8 a.m., stop by the coffee shop and sit there for half an hour, then head to their office desk. They might leave midday for a coffee break and then return. Schedules might vary from day to day, but I think it would feel realistic enough if I add some randomness to the start times and how often they perform small activities like grabbing coffee. This design would also work for someone who usually studies or works at the library. Then I immediately thought of an issue. The coffee shop has a fixed number of seats, say 6, so I don't want too many people choosing a schedule that puts them there at the same time. One way to solve this is to have a schedule management script for all non-interactable NPCs, which could assign a limited number of coffee shop visits at, say, 2 p.m. This sounded neat at first, but as I began implementing it, I realized I'd need to store each NPC's assigned schedule for the day. Otherwise, if the player exited and reloaded the game, those schedules wouldn't persist. After some thought, I decided to go with the most manual approach, writing a custom schedule for each filler NPC. Obviously, I'm not going to write 50 schedules for every day of the week, so I wrote one employee's schedule for a single day, made a few variations myself, and then explained to AI how the schedule was structured. Specifically, I needed the timing of each walk to be precise, with some variation in start times to make things feel more realistic. I also wanted each employee to leave home for work between 7 and 9:30 a.m., and return between 4:30 and 10 p.m. They should be in the office for at least 8 hours, and they might take 1 or 2 coffee breaks a day, each lasting anywhere from 30 minutes to 1 hour and 20 minutes. Based on those constraints, AI helped me generate 6 different schedules, which I added to the schedule file. I still need to manually adjust the paths and the start and end times for each employee in both the Alpha Corp and coffee shop scenes, since each one sits at a different desk and takes a different amount of time to walk there. I also want them to sit at different seats in the coffee shop, so there's more manual work involved. I briefly considered letting them automatically find an empty chair, but ran into the same persistence issue if the player re-enters the game, so I defaulted to this more manual but controllable solution. Finally, I asked AI to write a Python script to check whether the schedules meet all the constraints, making sure no 2 NPCs sit at the same coffee shop seat at the same time, and no more than 3 Alpha Corp employees are in the coffee shop simultaneously. I later modified the script to check occupancy in 30-minute intervals, so I could get a better sense of how busy the coffee shop is at any given time. This script will eventually be used to validate all NPC schedules, to avoid overlapping seat assignments, and ideally make sure the coffee shop never feels too empty for too long. That wraps up the Alpha Corp filler NPCs. The core mechanism is now complete, and I just need to expand it to other types of NPCs, like those who go to the library, work at the community center, and so on. I'll also need to add more activities, like visiting the community center after work or going to karaoke. Finally, I'll need to fine-tune the number of NPCs and their schedule timings to make sure every place feels lively and that it makes sense for that many people to be there at a given time of day. Thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more development updates, make sure to subscribe for future content.